Switch to English because should be connected online. Shyaam, I hope he's there.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. How is going, Shyaam?
Good. How are you?
Good. Where are you?
Right now, I'm in Puerto Rico.
Okay, really nice. Nice place. Okay. Yeah, so Shyaam will give us a little bit, a brief overview on circular economy business model applied to the fashion and how the fashion and textile industry can switch to a more circular economy. I'll let you speak, Shay.
Perfect. Let me just share my screen here. Can you all see the screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at Rethink. And I'm excited to share some circular business models in the fashion sector that I think are quite promising and emerging and can really help disrupt and transform the industry. And to start off with, I wanted to share this sort of value hill for circular fashion. And it's a concept that kind of demonstrates how in various industries, there's a lot of value that's generated along the supply chain. As you know, materials are extracted, manufactured into products and assembled into products, and then distributed through retail to the final user. There's a lot of value that gets added during the pre-use phase. And then after the user sort of uses them, typically if we kind of landfill or throw away those products, there's a lot of value that's wasted. So, you know, within the circular economy, the kind of closed loops that we've seen through the Ellen MacArthur Foundation butterfly diagrams and other kind of concepts, we see how different ways can be utilized to retain the value of products through reuse and redistribution, refurbishment, remanufacturing, recycling, etc. So the idea is that, you know, how can we retain a lot of the value that's generated along the supply chain and make sure that they are retained and in use for as long, the products are in use for as long as possible. And, you know, applying this to the fashion industry, you know, we know that there's a lot of resources that are utilized in the industry. So even looking at the impacts of a cotton shirt, it's 6% of the world's pesticides to grow the cotton, 2.4% of the world's land, 7,000 liters of water to produce a single shirt, causes 60% of water pollution and 2.6 kilograms of CO2 to produce a shirt. So there's a lot of resources utilized, a lot of value added in the industry to produce a single product. So how can we sort of make sure that we retain that value and keep those products in use for as long as possible to minimize the environmental impacts? And I wanted to share some circular business models that addresses this sort of 4 areas of closing the loop. Sharing models to sort of encourage reuse and redistribution, repair models to sort of refurbish clothing, repurpose models, and then finally recycling models. And I'll go through them in the next couple of slides. So in terms of sharing models, there's sort of 2 different models that we see in the industry. And both are becoming very, very popular. We're seeing sort of rental models, various companies like My Wardrobe HQ, Designer 24, Rent the Runway, Rainey's Closet, etc. There's a lot of organizations that are promoting the rental of clothes. So you don't actually own anything. You can kind of rent dresses or children's clothing, etc. And then when you're done with a particular piece, you sort of return it and you're able to sort of rent another piece of clothing. And then on the flip side, there's a lot of platforms and organizations promoting resale. So when you're finished with a particular piece of clothing, or you have lots of clothing in your closet that you're not using, how can you sort of put it up on a platform or a marketplace in order to sell it to somebody else who might be able to use it. So you're kind of increasing the utilization of clothes, promoting peer-to-peer exchange through the sort of marketplace or exchange of clothing, minimizing the need for new clothing, essentially. So there's a lot of companies, the Real, Depop, Next Closet, ThreadUp, Vestiaire Collective, ASOS Marketplace, a lot of these kind of companies coming up to promote the resale of clothing. So these two models are sort of becoming popular within the kind of sharing economy of clothes, both rental and resale. And then moving on, we're seeing also a lot of repair models coming up. Many companies, brands as well, are promoting the repair of their clothing. So Patagonia has, for example, the Worn Wear program. Nudie Jeans has a program to sort of provide free repairs forever for their jeans. There's Eileen Fisher's Renew program. And there's a lot of smaller initiatives that are promoting the sort of idea of being able to mend or fix fashion. So providing repair kits, organizations like Clothes Doctor and initiatives like Fixing Fashion that are promoting people to kind of repair their own clothes. And many other smaller brands are also promoting sort of their customers to repair their clothes, and even creating products like Made to Mend. They're creating products that can be repaired easily by the end customer. So these kind of repair models are really encouraging people to kind of keep what they have, patch it up or fix small tears or holes, etc., and keep using their clothing for longer. And then what we're seeing in sort of next stage down is these repurposing models. So with that, we're also seeing kind of two separate divisions of initiatives. The first is taking sort of post-consumer clothing. So old clothes that are going to be thrown away, essentially, and trying to see if new products can be made out of them. So there's initiatives like Urban Outfitters, Urban Renewal, Redone, Paiwand, Doodlage, Denim. And some of these initiatives are also, ones that you might find on platforms like Etsy, done by smaller scale producers like Papa Drew, Broken Ghost, etc. And all of these are sort of focused on taking old clothes and trying to create new products out of them, whether it's handbags from jeans that are going to be thrown away, or jackets from other kind of materials that are put together. And then on the flip side, we're also seeing organizations and initiatives taking dead stock from the fashion industry. So this would be material that isn't sold or scraps from the production process, etc. So there's a lot of material waste being generated there. So there's a lot of designers and companies coming up that are trying to take that material and trying to repurpose that into new products. And this has become quite popular amongst designers as well. So organizations like Fanfare, Pre-Loved, Suave, Hotel, which is interesting, they used hotel curtains, I believe, Anecdote, etc. So all of these are trying to see what they can do with the waste material that's being generated from the industry, from dead stock. And then finally, you have these kind of recycling models, and they take many different forms. In terms of categories, there's sort of recycling models that look at producing finished products from recycling. So you have the big brands, Patagonia, Adidas, and their partnership with Parley for the Oceans, EcoAlf, Prana, Outer Known, Threads for Thought. These different kinds of companies are trying to make recycled clothes, so clothes made out of recycled materials, whether it's recycled PET bottles or fishing nets or other kinds of materials that they then produce finished products. And you have also companies like Soul Rebels and Brave Souls that take tires, for example, so it can be waste from other industries. So they take waste tires and create shoes out of them. So there's a lot of companies that are trying to create products out of waste, out of recycling waste material, both from the textiles industry, but also potentially from other industries. And then you also have a group of companies within the industry that are creating recycled fibers. So they're not creating finished products, but they're creating sort of materials for brands to then produce clothing. So you have companies like Econil, Orange Fiber, Umorphil that uses fish waste, Evernew, Recover, etc. And some interesting ones that also use, waste from the dairy industry, like Q Milk and Duo di Latte, taking waste milk and essentially creating fibers out of them. So many of these companies are really focused on, creating the resources or the kind of intermediate materials in order for the textiles and fashion industry to then be able to produce more sustainable clothing. So some really interesting models and a very quick overview for you guys in terms of what are the kind of business models that are starting to pop up and becoming very prominent within the fashion industry around the circular economy. So thank you very much for your time.